And it's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent,
and
who are
we
having
represent
trouble,
them.
who
And we
are
represent them.
getting
And
by.
we represent
these
them.
long food
and
lines
we
that we're
represent
seeing.
them.
I know
we
you
know
are.
them.
I'm just saying.
We represent them, and we know them.
As we
We
say,
know them. We represent them.
don't let the perfect
storm you feel. Vote now.
Are you going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question is
the
question
Supreme Court
is
justice,
the
radical
question,
left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen, who is on your list, Joe?
This
Who's
is
on your
so
list?
right.
And
We're
we
having
represent
trouble.
them.
Who
And we
are
represent
trouble
them.
getting
And
by
we
on
represent
these
them.
long food
and we
lines that we're
represent
seeing.
them.
I know
we
you
know
are.
them.
I'm just
we
saying.
We represent them, and we know them.
As we
We
say,
know them. We represent them.
don't let the perfect.
And
we're
we
having
represent
trouble.
them. And
who
we
are
represent
trouble
them.
getting
and
by
we
on
represent.
He walked out in the gray light and stood, and he saw for a brief moment the absolute truth of the world. The cold, relentless circling of the intestate earth. Darkness implacable. The blind dogs of the sun in their running. The crushing black vacuum of the universe. And somewhere 200 animals trembling like ground foxes in their cover. Borrowed time and borrowed world and borrowed eyes with which to sorrow it.
And lo, for the earth was empty of form, and void, and darkness was all over the face of the deep, and we said, look at that fucker dance.
Welcome to Heat Death of the Universe. Coming at you from Seoul, South Korea. It is November 20th, 2020. Hey, that's 2020. 20. It is 12:39 p.m. The mics are kind of working. Huzzah.
We're not sure about the soundboard.
Oh, it's also a Friday afternoon. Right before work time. We're second shifters.
Are you making fun of me?
I'm talking about I gotta work too, man.
I just meant, why do I always have to be second?
I'm also second.
Why isn't our shift called first shift?
Because second shift is better.
That's true.
You want to work in the mornings?
It's weird to be teachers.
You want to go back to morning time?
It is weird to be teachers who work second shift when I think about it.
It is weird, but it's also very normal where we are, so.
That's true. Sometimes I miss working in the morning, honestly.
You could do it if you really wanted to.
Yeah. That would require changing jobs.
Ambition.
I mean, some people change jobs often for things like more capital, but I really only change jobs when it's forced on me by an employer who says we don't want you anymore. I guess I have changed jobs once or twice when I decided I don't want this employer anymore.
Yeah, you go, girl.
That one's happened less than the other.
Speaking of urgency, which no one has yet, we got like 3 kind of main topics to get through today, and I think we gotta hop to it, right?
Hoppity hop.
Because, yeah, like we've said, work is approaching. This is work, but
hop.
This is more fun than actual work.
Hop to the skip, don't hop.
What?
Huh?
Our famous catchphrase, what, huh? So, as we've been known to start off these podcasts lately, what's up in the wide world of COVID-19? Well, let's start with the bad news. Well, no, this is actually kind of a mix of...
The bad news is Joe Biden is going to use science to fight COVID-19.
Yeah, he's going to use science. I just put an image in my mind of like cartoon Joe Biden with like a sword and shield. It'd be like a Ben Carrison cartoon. The shield says science on it.
The shield is just like, it's a shield, but emblazoned on the front of the shield is a beaker. And the hilt of his sword looks like looks like one of those nuclear atoms, like the 1950s, like nuclear bomb atoms.
Or it could look like a double helix, like DNA strand as a
that
sword.
Could work too.
Anyway, fuck Joe Biden. I'm not talking about Joe Biden right now.
I always wanted Miss Fritzl as the Miss Fritzl as the president of the United States. She would have been awesome.
Oh, the magic school bus lady.
That's the one.
Yeah, I only knew that right away because I just went over one of those with some students.
She could have made every American super small.
So speaking of urgency, we've got a headline here from the old WSWS. It's a mix of mostly terrible news mixed with some potentially good news. Growing support among workers for shutdown of non-essential production as U.S. death toll tops 250,000. I feel like on just the last podcast, which was not that long ago, like, 5 days ago or something?
Yeah.
We were saying 240,000 roughly.
I think it was,
So it's gone up.
It was less than that even.
10,000 more people have died since then. I mean, I'm telling you, this just keeps ramping up so fast.
That's how exponential numbers work.
I know, but...
They just keep getting bigger.
So...
At some point, they get so big that you just like... You look at them and you think, man, this is what it feels like to be Jeff Bezos looking at his bank account.
But it's not just the total, though, either. It's the daily record shattering of daily deaths that keeps going up.
I'm proud to be from a country that's finally number one at something.
All right.
Well, I'm being insensitive.
No, it's just we've said that like 6 times before.
Like I said.
Okay. I'm just gonna read a couple of bits here. It's got some quotes from actual factory workers that I think are worth hearing and talking about. Anger is growing at U.S. factories and workplaces as the coronavirus pandemic rages out of control. The death toll surpassed 250,000, and new cases and hospitalizations are rising sharply in nearly every state in the country. Did you hear about, I think it was North Dakota?
I heard that North Dakota and South Dakota are currently tied as like the most infectious states.
Like per capita or something.
Yeah, per capita.
Like they completely maxed out the entire like literally
it's 6 out of 10 people.
But like literally every hospital is full. They're turning people away. Which remember like maybe 5 months ago, 6 months ago, when Americans were still trying to look down their noses at like Italy and Spain for, oh, look, they have socialized medicine and they have to decide who lives or dies. Well, look where we are now, motherfuckers.
Yeah, I mean, if only someone had warned the Americans.
Yeah. Sorry, where was I? Workers, however, are being kept on the job, forced to risk their lives and the lives of their loved ones for profit. The concerns and opposition of workers are largely ignored by the corporate media. However, articles published... Oh, now they're going to kind of tout themselves. Articles published in the World Socialist website on the spread of the contagion in workplaces are being widely read by workers, and circulated on social media. Maybe. I follow them on Twitter.
I hope so.
They don't have a huge like Twitter following, but anyway, I like whatever. That's beside the point. Actually, probably these workers are not sharing shit on Twitter anyway. Probably Facebook, if anything. I don't know. One worker at the GM assembly plant in Flint, Michigan, wrote to the WSWS, "I feel that each plant should test every employee and send us home for quarantine for 2 weeks and cut all overtime until this virus is slowed down." Look, he's not even asking for like sick leave. Like he's just saying, I mean, it seems implied in that one sentence that he's saying, I'll take the hit of like
losing overtime.
Well, not even losing overtime, but it sounds like they're saying like even like don't pay us for staying home, but just let us stay home for God's sakes.
I agree.
But they should be paid to stay home. I mean, but and
everyone should be paid to stay home.
Agreed.
They should have been paid to stay home months ago.
But like they're also finding that like huge like hotspots of these like super spreader type events are in factories, obviously.
It makes sense.
Because they also go on here to say, work at the Fiat Chrysler parts plant in Michigan wrote, "Don't forget about us here at the Maryville Axle plant. We have dozens of employees and supervisors out due to COVID and almost no safety protocol except temperature checks at the door. Not a single person here feels like their lives matter. Car parts are more important than our lives."
Way back in 2004, I worked at a factory that did car parts. I worked on the line that did the plastic sealing that goes around car doors, like the plastic sealing that goes around the passenger door of I don't remember which car. Mm-hmm. But you worked fairly close together on the assembly line. I could see like virus spreading pretty easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think even if you were wearing like, even if they gave them like medical grade PPE, like I think it's bound to fucking spread.
Yeah, it's going to. Because like, I mean, I don't know how it is in 2020 because it's been a long time since I've worked at a factory, but you know, the few breaks you got during the day, you go outside, you share cigarettes, you share maybe various blue and red and orange things that you take in your nose to stay awake and work a little bit harder. And there's just like lots of times at factories when you there's ample opportunity to share virus matter with each other.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if you're like, even if you're wearing like just the surgical mask for like 8 hours a day, and your break time, you're gonna want to take it off, understandably. But in any case, just like, you know, Biden says he's going to listen to the scientists. Well, the scientists are fucking telling us, like, here's where things are spreading the most, and nothing's being done about it. And yes, I know Biden's not president yet, but he's said specifically he has no plan to, like, shut down any factories or anything like that. I mean, he's not even, the whole mask mandate thing that was their main part of their plan. They've now reduced to a gentle mask suggestion, not even to the state governments, but to the like city and township governments. Like, hey guys, maybe you should put masks on. and imagine
no fucking shit.
And imagine all of the local, all of the county like governments. When you look at the electoral map and how, you know, the blue sections on the maps of each state are always just in like the metropolitan areas usually, you know, and then anything outside of that is just like blood red. Imagine how many like county officials are going to be like, oh, sure, Biden administration, I'll take your gentle suggestion to heart. They're going to be, fuck you. We're going to extra not wear masks now.
We're arresting anyone who we see in a mask. Only people that wear a mask in our town are criminals trying to rob shit. That's why they're in mask.
And I mean, there's a lot more in this, but we can move on. But like, I just wanted to say one more thing too about the illusion of safety that the temperature checks give, and everywhere. Like, I think about it here too all the time.
I think about it too.
Like, okay, in one sense, yeah, if someone has like a blazing fever at that moment and you don't let them in, sure, maybe they have COVID, and maybe you sending them out of the building is going to protect some people. But do people just keep forgetting that this is like largely asymptomatically spread? Like, the temperature checks it's a totally a placebo.
Yeah, it just helps people keep a peace of mind.
Yeah, exactly. Like when the band I play with was still playing gigs, and we'd go to these places and it'd be like, oh, they're checking our temperature, and we have to write down our information, so like if someone does have it, they can like, do the contact tracing more easily. I was like, this doesn't help anybody really. Like, I don't know. Anyway, so the other new COVID news is that Pfizer announced, I don't know, that was like a week ago.
I think it was a week ago.
Maybe actually a little more than a week ago, but Pfizer announced, this is what we have to keep in mind. Pfizer, the company, the very corrupt, evil pharmaceutical company, Pfizer, they said, hey, everybody, election's over. We've not a cure, but we've got a 90% effective vaccine. And here's zero science to back it up. Like, they're just asserting it.
Yeah, they made a press release, and they did not release any
of the data.
Any of the data, none of the research. There's no like actual like. They're just like, hey, we did it. You know what happened to their stock though?
Skyrocketed.
Amazing.
And there's even more recent news from about 2 days ago. Now they're saying they've ended their vaccine trial with a 95% success rate. And this is Reuters, says, paving the way for a shot this year. So now they're making it sound like we're going to have the vaccine
for Christmas?
Before the year is over.
I hope so.
Me too, but again, I'm not going to be holding my breath on that.
I'll give it a higher likelihood than the student loans being forgiven, but we'll see.
Yeah, we're going to get around to that too. So there's this article on a website that I don't usually like to read, but I don't know. This was just where I found the issue being talked about. Vox.
What's wrong with Vox?
I hate Matt Iglesias. That's what's wrong with Vox. And wait, who else? Is Ezra Klein Vox? Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm pretty sure.
Matt Iglesias, wasn't he like a 90s kid star?
What?
He was like one of those Saved by the Bell people, right?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, never mind then.
Are you thinking of the guy who played Slater on Saved by the Bell?
No, of course not.
What are you talking about?
I'm not really sure. Just ignore
Do you
me.
not know who Matt Iglesias is?
I feel like I should.
He's widely derided by our tribe of people.
My echo chamber is very tiny.
Yeah, apparently. If you don't know who Matt Iglesias is. Anyway, okay, I don't want to go into him too much. But like, he recently wrote a book, an insane book. Who your guy that you really like wrote a great review about it. Nathan Robinson wrote a scathing review of it.
I do like Nathan Robinson.
It was called what's the name? 1 Billion Americans, something like that. And he writes this entire book about why the American population should actually triple and some. Because we're the greatest nation in the world, so therefore we need the most people. basically his argument was like, we need to be able to crush China. So we should actually have...
We can already.
Anyway, this guy's a fucking idiot and he sucks. He has like the worst takes. And I think he recently left Vox, but my God, is it possible for us not to get sidetracked?
He really wants America. Oh, God damn. Okay. Yeah, he sounds dumb.
Yeah, billion people. I'll send you the article that Robinson wrote about it. That's probably the least irritating way to find out what the book says, because at least it's critical.
All right.
Anyway, this article on Vox called "Why the Pfizer and BioNTech Vaccine is Cause for Optimism and Skepticism," and then the subheader is "Vaccine Science by Press Release Has to Stop." I'm not going to read much of this at all, but I agree. This idea of science by press release, I think, is really, it's very misleading at best and like actually harmful, I guess, at worst. Because, let's see, maybe I'll just start reading some of it here. It begins with, "On Monday morning, my mom sent me a text message. Black cloud is lifting. Pfizer has 90% effective vaccine." And so, like, I think this was a lot of people's reaction to the headline. Just the headline, you know. Think about how many people they're not even reading the sort of likely misleading, like, meat of the article or the press release. They're just, the headline, rejoice, hallelujah, right? 90%. That's amazing, which it is. Like, for a vaccine, that's a really highly effective rate. She was continuing. She was one of the many people buoyed by this announcement from the drug maker that early data suggests its COVID-19 vaccine can prevent infection from the disease. What my mom missed, by no fault of her own, was that the news didn't come with any detailed data, regulatory review, published study, or preprint. In fact, the trial isn't even completed. I guess it is now, but at the time of this writing, it was not. Instead, it was the latest instance of science by press release in the coronavirus pandemic. She goes on to list like a bunch of times, like since the beginning of the virus taking hold, that people made similar announcements that turned out to be bogus, or if not outright like lies, were just, you know, they were incomplete studies, and they were, you know, the headlines were promising things that the studies didn't back up.
Sure. Just media feeding the hype machine.
And there's like, she lists a ton of examples here too, and it's probably not an exhaustive list either, but I just think that's an important thing for people to keep in mind, is that because it's easy to be misled, like this author's mother was like, oh, well, because like people almost see like, oh, Pfizer, that's like a name I recognize. They're a big drug company. Like, why would they have any reason to lie? Or the government must have at least like gone through like all these like, you know, regulatory procedures to allow them to even announce something like that. Yep. And they don't have to. They can just say whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah, I can go. I mean, I can't, but if I had the money and funds, I could go on TV and say I've created a vaccine to the coronavirus.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it falls into the purview of free speech.
Thing is, and I think I've probably said this in the pod before. Oh God, I just called it the pod. But it's hard for me to get my hopes up about all the vaccine stuff, because I know like the fastest we ever made a vaccine was like for rabies, and that took 5 years.
Yeah.
And then like we've worked on other things like HIV. We still don't really
no, there's definitely nothing like a vaccine. There's good treatments, of course.
Sure.
Now, but
doctors or scientists don't have a lot of success making vaccines. It's hard. It takes a lot of time, and then you also have to convince everyone to take them, which could be very hard too.
Yeah, what did you just tell me about? There's already protests
There's
against
already
this vaccine.
protest against the vaccine by anti-vaxxers.
Of course. Yeah.
Because it's probably better to just let people get the virus, develop immunity. I don't actually think this, but the anti-vaxxers are already like protesting like any type of coronavirus vaccine.
What's the big theory though that is it they think Bill Gates wants to put like microchips into the vaccines so then they can track all of us? I think that's like a Q theory. Anyway,
I think that is a Q theory.
I think I cut you off. Sorry.
No, I'm just trying to say that I want a vaccine to happen, but like I have friends who are smarter than me that think it could happen, so I want to trust them. However, I know historically we've not been great at getting vaccines out quickly, and like within a year is just like way quicker than I think it's even possible. Like at best we might get something next year.
Yeah.
And that's like end of next year. But then you have to go through the whole release thing. It'll go to like the most vulnerable populations first. Getting to like regular public, that's going to be a while. And especially if an American company makes it, it'll take even longer because they're going to have to figure out how to profit off of it first.
Yeah, that's the other damning thing about this shit is that the profit motive is just going to lead to like reckless science. It's already led to these like reckless headlines. Because like we said, just the headline itself made profit for the company.
Sure.
Like just the headline.
Yeah.
They could literally right now have done nothing and nobody would know the wiser.
I feel like I said this in the last
the wiser.
last episode. Sorry if I did. But I'll say it again. It's a lot like a few years ago when Bitcoin was just like exploding. And then like every company in the world's like, we're also doing a Bitcoin cryptocurrency thing.
Mm-hmm.
And just because putting it in their title made them more money.
No, you haven't said that before, I don't think. I don't remember that.
It's just... I'm sure Pfizer's working on a vaccine. It is what they do.
Oh, I know that.
I'm sure they're working on one, but
The danger to me is that
I just don't trust that they've done enough testing to really be saying, hey, we've got a 90% effective vaccine.
Well, this article, and I don't want to go too far into it, but this article breaks down some of, they haven't released the true data, but they do talk a little bit about like the sample size and stuff. And like, there's a lot to be skeptical about, basically, is what I'll leave it at, because we're in kind of a rush today, folks.
Yeah.
But I think the last thing I have to say about the vaccine issue is what I worry about even more is that they will rush it out quickly. People will get hurt. It won't work properly. Like it could be all the side effects that the anti-vaxxers are always saying are an issue, and that will just like embolden the insane theories rather than just pointing out, hey, they did the science poorly, they rushed it because they want to make money. Instead, it will be like, see, we told you vaccines are the devil. And then once something actually is developed that is truly effective, it'll be that kind of like boy who cried wolf scenario. And I mean, it's still for idiots, but like, I want those idiots to be vaccinated too,
Oh, me too.
So like, and there's no way in this country we'll ever do mandatory vaccinations, like not on a wide scale, not on a nationwide scale. I cannot see that happening. Even if we did, people would be willing to like go to jail. Like the true lunatics would be.
We have done like some mandatory vaccinations, right?
We have, but I don't know when the last time we did was. I think sometimes a lot. I think some of those things are like not mandatory. They just, maybe when you were a kid, they seemed mandatory because everyone you knew just got their shots.
Well, yeah, I mean, some of them were mandatory in the way that like if you want to be allowed to go to public school,
Yeah.
et cetera, you have to get certain vaccinations.
Yeah, for like measles and stuff like that.
I remember last year before coronavirus in that gentler time when measles was making a comeback. I wonder if it's still making a comeback.
I don't really. I mean, I have a vague memory now that you say it, but
it's fucked up that measles could be making a comeback. That's all I'm trying to get at.
Well, I'm sure it has like a causal connection to the anti-vax movement.
Oh, it does.
Anyway, speaking of an unstoppable disease, Nancy Pelosi has been reelected.
Wonderful. Why didn't she get coronavirus?
Because she's rich.
And there's no God.
I guess also a lot of rich people have gotten coronavirus.
Celebrities, I imagine they just interact with lots of people.
Yeah, I don't know. She probably has had it and just like had like some adrenochrome cocktail injected into the base of her spine or something. I don't know.
She's 80. I don't know why I brought that up. But
she's old, yeah.
Every fucking leader in the world is fucking 80.
You know, she's like showing signs of dementia.
You can vote, you can get out the vote, and you can do so as soon as possible. 10 states, as I said, on Friday started their early voting the day that we lost Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
But to be clear, you're not taking any arrows out of your quiver. You're not ruling anything out.
Good morning. Sunday morning.
Good morning. Sunday morning. Good morning. Sunday morning. Good morning. Sunday morning.
She's not even close to Unky Joe.
Why a tax standard? Why? You're getting nervous, man. Just calm down. It's okay.
But like,
she's
starting to like lose it, like in terms of like getting really aggressive with people that like even slightly challenge her in interviews.
With all due respect, and you know we've known each other a long time, you really don't know what you're talking about.
And I have only the greatest respect for you.
So do the math.
Madam Speaker, I have only the greatest respect for you.
$1.6 trillion.
$1.8 trillion. $1.8 trillion is a lot of money. The American people need that money ASAP because they're suffering right now. And I'm not saying it's perfect, but I'm saying...
And you don't care how it's spent.
I care, of course, how it's spent.
But again, you've been on JAG defending the administration all this time with no knowledge of the difference between our two bills. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity to say that to you in person.
All right, Madam Speaker,
virtually.
these are incredibly difficult times right now.
You are not right on this, Wolf, and I hate to say that to you.
Right. It's not about me. It's about millions of Americans who can't put food on the table, who can't pay the rent,
and we represent them. And we represent them.
Getting
and
by
we represent
these
them.
long food
and
lines
we represent
that we're seeing.
them.
I know
we
you
know
are.
them.
I'm just saying.
We represent them and we know them.
As we say.
We know them. We represent them.
Don't let the perfect be the enemy of the good, as they say.
It is
here
nowhere
in
near perfect.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for your sensitivity to our constituents' needs.
I am sensitive to them because I see them on the street begging for food, begging for money. Madam Speaker, thank you so much.
Have you fed them? We feed them. We feed them.
Which I think is more just her entitled nature, but it also comes off as a bit like unhinged, where she's just like repeating herself over and over and like angrily. And it's probably coincidentally about like 5-6 o'clock when the sun's going down. But anyway, I mean, there's not much really to say about her. I mean, we could do a whole episode about her if we really like dove into her entire like history in the government. But I guess I just wanted to say that it's kind of fucked up that she's been reelected to lead as Speaker of the House. And Chuck Schumer was also reelected as little bitch of the Senate. Kind of a meaningless... I don't know. He's still like a figurehead, though.
It's wonderful that we've created a system of government that also acts as a nursing home for our elderly.
Yeah. Only the wealthiest ones, though.
the nicest nursing home, the Senate.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I guess there's really, this is a very, I mean, I guess it's good because we got to go shorter today. But just remember, everybody, Nancy Pelosi fucking sucks. And her whole time since 1987, she's basically been a Republican. I mean,
she's so good at tearing up papers.
Yeah.
That's what I want out of my leaders.
You know, it was even worse than the paper tearing thing when people said she was sarcastically clapping. And I know this is kind of old news to touch on now, but do you remember that?
No, not really.
So you don't even know about that one. If you see the GIF of it or whatever, or the video of it, it's, you know, when she's standing directly behind Trump during the State of the Union, whatever. Mm-hmm. And she's doing this kind of clap that people read as like sassy and sarcastic. She was even asked about it, and she was like, "No, I was very much genuine in my clapping." And it's like, Jesus, is this what it's come down to? Hang on a second. Sorry about that, folks. I'm gonna edit that out, maybe. But seguing into the next topic, unless you have anything else you want to say about Nancy Pelosi or Chuck Schumer.
We deserve better.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to link to this long article that's actually from way back when. It's from 2006.
The socialist worker one?
Yeah. It's basically about how Nancy Pelosi has voted right alongside and for everything the neocons and George W. Bush ever wanted. And
that hasn't changed, by the way.
Exactly. It fits perfectly with her record now. Even with her record during the Obama years, like she's always been, if there's one thing she's been consistent about, it's been being a Republican with a D next to her name.
She's also very consistent about Israel.
Yeah. Just like all these fuckheads. But what was the next thing? Oh, yeah. So speaking of old Chuck Schumer.
Chucky Schumes.
I guess it was his brainchild. I don't know. That's the way I read about it. He's the one he strongly sort of suggested or whatever, urged Joe Biden to forgive $50,000 of student loan per person. And
yeah, I read it was his and Elizabeth Warren's. And I also heard that the main reason that, I mean, it fits what, well, I dislike Warren. It does kind of fit stuff that Warren has said in the past. Schumer is a little more surprising for me, but he's also up for re-election. And like, I think he's, what's the word I'm looking for? I think he just would like to be reelected, and he sees this as one of the routes that would help him get reelected.
I think he knows that the Biden administration, as you pointed out when we were talking about the election, they have to do at least one semi-decent thing for the people that got them fucking elected.
It's one of the few things they can do too, because like it's actually something that Biden can just do with an executive action.
Exactly.
Like the stimulus check. There's probably not going to be another stimulus check because the Republicans are going to oppose it the whole time if you follow what McConnell's been saying. So it's just like something he can do.
Yeah, I mean,
he'll fuck it up though.
You'd like to think though that since like the Republicans in Senate are also up for re-election in 2 years. Wait, what am I talking about?
Elections? Republicans?
But that's not, what am I saying? So senators are not up for re-election for another 6 years.
Yeah.
Okay, but so then I guess you're right. Because of that fact, because of that fucked up fact, like, I mean, you and I have talked about how there should definitely be like extreme term limits on these people if we're going to have this form of quote unquote democracy anymore. But 6 years, why do senators get the longest terms? That just fucks up like, if they were on like the 2 year by 2 year basis that the people in the House are, then what I was just about to say would make sense. Then they would have some reason, some possible pressure to put out a stimulus check, even if it might make Biden look good. But it would also make them look good in their reelection campaigns. But I guess the really powerful ones like McConnell are so unafraid of having their seat taken away. Also, the thing about McConnell is that it seems like he's ready to go out in he's fucking ready to die, like, so to speak.
Yes.
Because he got what his whole life has been like working towards. He got the 6-3 majority in the Senate. Not the Senate, I'm sorry, the Supreme Court. But anyway, so what I was about to say doesn't fucking count. But because I was gonna say, if the people in the House like push for a stimulus because they want to get reelected in the next 2 years, but then again, if the Senate shuts it down, it doesn't fucking matter because our government, the way our government's run, is completely fucked up and wacky and backwards. So yeah, I'm agreeing with you in that long roundabout way. We're probably never going to see another stimulus check until maybe right before Kamala tries to get elected, And I mean, hopefully by then COVID will be gone, but we'll see.
We'll see.
In any case, the student debt thing, I guess I don't know why Schumer is pushing for it. I don't see how it really benefits him directly.
I heard it was for election reasons. But...
Yeah, but I mean, he doesn't have to worry about being reelected for a while now. Maybe he's thinking in terms of... Maybe he is just like thinking in terms of making the president look better. I don't know. But it would ultimately be scraps. Like, I mean, it would be okay. It would be scraps to give us the 50,000.
That would be amazing
each.
for me.
No, I'm saying it's amazing. It would be life changing for some people, but at the same time, there should just be full forgiveness. But now, okay, it gets worse, folks. Of course, it gets worse because guess who we elected? Joe fucking Biden and Kamala Harris. So I've got this NPR article here, and usually I was wary of wanting to read from Vox. I'm wary of reading from NPR, but NPR just sums up the situation here.
See, I like NPR.
They're the same fucking... Anyway, that's for another day.
I like my public radio. I like my public broadcasting.
What's the last time you listened to NPR?
I mean, I like to listen to their 10-minute daily news report in the morning.
They have soothing voices, but I mean, they're like the epitome of like the shitty lib resistance. Like, I mean, I used to listen to NPR too when I lived in America because it was like basically the best there was if you were listening to the radio in your car.
I've got 10 minutes to wash the dishes.
But
so I listen to the 10-minute news they do.
This is making us sound old too. This is before I even had like...
I'm 1 billion years old. Sorry.
This is before I even had like a smartphone that I could listen to podcasts on. So yeah, I did listen to the radio when I was driving in America. But then I did find a more progressive station than NPR. So I stopped listening to NPR after that. And even that progressive station is probably by my standards now like resistance lib shit. But I digress. One thing I will say about that radio station that was good was this was way before Bernie. This was like 2009, 2010. Every Friday, Bernie Sanders would come on to this guy's show, Tom Hartman, and do like an hour or 2 hours just taking phone calls from people.
That's awesome.
And yeah, that made me like Bernie Sanders a lot more than I already did just listening to him once a week. So, Headline: Biden wants to help pay some student loans, but there's pressure to go further. President-elect Joe Biden has affirmed his support for erasing some, this is the key word here, some student debt, quote, immediately. Student debt forgiveness was a major campaign plank of some of his more progressive rivals. There's a link to that. I imagine that link goes to Bernie Sanders. If it goes to I almost said Elizabeth Warren, that will kind of annoy me because her student debt forgiveness plan was pretty paltry as well. Anyway. The tangents. I can't stop them. Student debt forgiveness was a major campaign plank of some of his more progressive rivals for the Democratic nomination, but it remains controversial, even among some Democrats. Can you believe it? In answer to a question at a Monday press conference, Biden repeated his support for a provision passed as part of the HEROES Act. This is supposed to be awesome. This is supposed to be the sequel to the CARES Act, I guess.
I think so.
That has no individual checks even proposed within it, which the Democratic-controlled House updated on October 1st. The provision calls for the federal government to pay off up to $10,000, not $50,000, $10,000. So they've already just negotiated down so extremely. In private, non-federal student loans for, quote, economically distressed borrowers. Economically distressed people don't get private loans. They get federal loans.
Yep.
I have a federal loan. So I'm not going to get even that 10 grand if this is passed. You're not going to see a cent of it either, right?
Nope.
Biden specifically highlighted, quote, people having to make choices between paying their student loan and paying the rent. That's fucking so many people beyond what you're setting it aside for.
Every sane person just pays their rent and fucking ignores their student loans. I suggest if you're listening to this and you pay your student loans, I suggest just stop.
Yeah.
Just quit. It's pointless.
If enough of us stop, well, they can't get all of us. And said the debt relief, actually, I'm saying this from a sort of a point of privilege, I suppose, because I don't live in the U.S. anymore. But
that's true.
But no, they can still fuck my credit. If I have any credit score, it's probably in the negatives, if that's even possible. I remember one time I tried to get a credit card when I was so poor in my last year of college, and I couldn't get a credit. Like, if you can't get a credit card in the United States, which is a country that's basically running on, like,
made up money.
Yeah, running on credit and, like, extremely exploitative credit card credit. That, I don't know. I felt so bad about myself that I couldn't even get a fucking credit card.
I was right there with you at one point.
Biden specifically, I said that already. He said debt relief should be done immediately. Senate Democrats are pushing for much more debt relief. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer co-authored a resolution in September with Senator Elizabeth Warren, what we were talking about, calling for the next president to cancel up to $50,000. Up to. That sounds like there's going to be some means testing involved then.
Yeah, probably.
Remember when we first heard about this and I was like, wouldn't it be cool if you could get the leftover money if, like, your student debt was, like, say, $40,000?
Oh, no way to do that.
I know. So that just seems even more pie in the sky now because it's like, oh, we've got a means-tested plan that goes up to $50,000 for each. And like you pointed out before, you'd still be in debt after that if you got the full 50.
It wouldn't pay all of it off.
And okay, so the Warren Schumer thing would be for federal loans. So I guess also not gonna. So their plan's gonna ignore private loans, like through banks,
which is good. I think maybe I don't know.
The reason
they can do federal loans, like so. I think the big thing about their plan is because it's federal loans, that actually means the president has the ability to just go ahead and cancel it. Whereas if it's private loans, I think they actually have to like draft legislation and other things to like, because they're not like tapping into like the federal loans are just controlled by the federal government,
right?
Part of the government. But if it's private loans, they have to actually
but
work out agreements with banks and other things.
They could work, but I don't. Well, okay, I guess I don't know enough about it, but I feel like that could be an executive order as well. If it was just like the banks aren't going to give a shit who it comes from, right? Are they? Or
the thing is, if the government cancels on the federal loans, the government's just writing it off. They're just saying, okay, we never expect to get this money. If it's the banks, someone has to give the banks money.
Yeah, the federal government.
Yeah, but the federal government doesn't have to give itself money. They just write the loans off as in. That's why they can take care of the federal loans.
I get.
They're just saying,
I get the difference. I'm saying if they really wanted to, if they really cared, like they could cancel medical debt, they could cancel private student loan debt, they could cancel debt. Period.
But then that's the government stepping into the private sphere, which we don't do as a.
They wouldn't necessarily force the banks to accept the money that they're willing to just hand them, but I think certain banking institutions would be like, all right, federal government, if you want to really like be the white knight and save the people from their debt, write us a check for blah blah blah, and sure, we'll cancel it. But yeah, I mean, I know it's not going to happen. I'm just saying it's not a technical impossibility either. In any case, like what went from like, wow, that would be great, 50,000 per person for all their college debt. That's the way I first heard it, like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, whatever. Now looking into the details, it's like up to 50,000. And then now that's even being thrown out the window. And Biden's saying 10 grand for people with private debt.
10 grand's what he said on the campaign trail. This 50,000 thing is newer than the 10 grand thing. The 10 grand thing was his plan while he was campaigning.
He was saying that as part of his platform. Okay. Yeah, but it only applies to private non-federal student loans.
Oh yeah, that's one of the many reasons that Biden was about the worst choice of all the Democratic candidates.
Well, there's so many other reasons, but yes. Yeah, so basically that all sucks. I'll continue a little bit here. Warren, in her presidential campaign proposal, cited arguments that debt forgiveness would reduce the racial wealth gap, reverse rural brain drain, and allow more people to complete their educations. Activist groups such as the Debt Collective go further, arguing that student debt is wrong in principle. Quote, we must return education to the status of a public good. Of course, I agree with that. I mean, that's how it was, like, I don't know.
Up until
not that long ago. Yeah. Like, even in California, at least, you could go to college for free until, well, I don't know when they started slowly phasing that out, and then like everywhere else in the U.S., just everything is just for maximal profit, even in public run institutions. How did that work? You know the famous like Mussolini definition of fascism?
Yeah.
I think about that a lot when I look at what's going on in the United States. Like, the gist of it is what the corporate and government powers are completely intertwined. So yeah, welcome to Mussolini's US of A. Final paragraph here. His wife, Jill Biden, a community college professor. Oh, she was a community college professor. Very humble. Wait, why does it say she is? There's no way she still works at a fucking community college. Anyway, echoed the call for free community college at a remote keynote address she gave Monday to a group called College Promise, where she is the former honorary chair. College Promise supports and advocates for a network of 360 local free college programs across the country, which operate with a mixture of public and philanthropic support. See, just like every step of the way, these promises start off sounding kind of decent, and then every next word makes it sound worse and shittier and watered down to being almost nothing. Like, it starts here calling free community college, and then all the caveats are like, well, 360 college programs would be free, and they would also be funded by half public, half charity. Like, no, just fucking nationalize every goddamn thing, like every other country on Earth. Anyway, I think that might be, we might have actually hit our agenda in time.
Seems that way.
Do we have enough time to quickly recommend some stuff?
Sure, let's do that.
Let me go to the bathroom. General recommendations. Today, I'm going to quickly recommend two things because I couldn't decide which one I wanted to. They're both movies, and they're both highfalutin foreign movies. It's a real change up from my usual recommendations. I don't know why. For some reason, I was thinking about this movie the other day. It's by the maybe most famous Japanese film director in the world. Who would you guess I would say? Like, that people know outside of Japan.
Miike. Miike?
No. Kurosawa.
Oh, yeah, that guy. I've heard of him.
Akira Kurosawa's movie called Ikiru, which I guess means to live in Japanese. It's a 1952 old black and white movie, so one of his earlier movies, I guess, about this like salaryman bureaucrat in Tokyo who finds out he's got a year to live. He has stomach cancer. This sounds very much like a foreign art house film, the way I'm describing it, because it is. And it's also really good. I've only seen it once, actually, when I fancied myself a film studies kind of guy back when I was a student. And I remember being super moved by it. And that partially might be the reason I haven't revisited it, is because I found it like very effective in a sad but beautiful way. And it's just really good. Nothing else to really say about it now. But the second movie I want to recommend, then we jump ahead to more contemporary cinema, is by a guy who is quite famous now. Yorgos Lanthimos, the Greek film director who got a lot of recognition for his last movie, The Favorite, which I actually think is his least interesting movie, I gotta say, to be a little bit contrarian. But his movies that were actually done in Greek, his second one, called Dogtooth, is a really amazing, original, cool movie. The basic premise is that there are these parents who raise their children to believe that their home and their backyard, which is enclosed by these really tall hedges, is the entire world. So they tell them from birth, like, if you go beyond these, if you go beyond like our yard, essentially, you'll be eaten by monsters. And there's this one eerie scene that's even in the trailer, so I don't think it's too much of a spoiler, where you see a cat that's crawled into the yard, and the son has a pair of garden shears in his hand, and he's slowly approaching the cat, and it doesn't look like things will end well, and it's because he thinks the cat is one of the monsters. But yeah, it's a very, like, it's rich with like allegory and whatnot and symbolism, but it's just it's got a lot of like weird suspense and like strangeness in it, and I think it's my favorite movie by him. He also did that movie The Lobster that got a lot of attention. I
saw that at the Incheon Film Festival a couple of years ago.
Oh, nice. That's
back when we still had film festivals.
In the before times. Trademark, Heat Death of the Universe. No podcast has ever called them the before times.
Never called it the before times.
So yeah, I recommend Dogtooth, strong recommend, and Ikiru, strong recommend. How about you?
I'm gonna go with the movie theme too.
Nice.
And make my recommendation, which I feel like I know that a lot of film people like this movie, but my favorite noir film, or at least classic noir film, is Kiss Me Deadly. Have you ever seen Kiss Me Deadly? It's from like 1955, but it
I'm ashamed to say I haven't, and I need to watch more classic noir films.
I just really love this film, but it basically follows this like divorce attorney who gets wrapped up in a government conspiracy because like he's kind of like a tough, like no nonsense divorce attorney, which is like, kind of like whatever attorney, but he finds himself like working on this case as an attorney where he ends up like looking for this briefcase that contains nuclear codes, and like if you've ever seen Pulp Fiction, which I'm sure you have, the briefcase in Pulp Fiction that has the light coming out of it is based on the briefcase from Kiss Me Deadly, because like Kiss Me Deadly ends with this famous scene of the briefcase being open and a bright light shining forth from it.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Man,
Tarantino completely took that.
Can Tarantino ever come up with anything? I mean, I love Tarantino, but that's...
See, I'm fine with Tarantino doing that because I think Tarantino's like beauty as a director is remixing like the past.
I agree, but I really wanted to believe at least that the
No, that was from Kiss Me
I wanted to
Deadly.
believe that the briefcase thing was wholly original. But, okay, that's cool.
Like,
still,
Kiss Me Deadly's like when it was created, the thing that made it really interesting is it kind of deconstructed like all the Pulp Fiction archetypes of the time, as in it just like took everything and twisted it on its head, at least from everything that came before it. And it's a really cool noir film, and you can see like how it's influenced people like Tarantino and like a lot of other film directors.
it says here it's like a precursor to the French New Wave. That Truffaut and Godard really liked it as well.
Yeah.
Although it looks like it came after. Well, anyway, the French New Wave, whatever. It looks cool. I've definitely heard of it, of course. I just I'll have to check it out. There's a lot. I've been actually thinking about going back and watching a lot of noir movies. I've really only seen some of the super big ones.
It's probably my favorite like 50s noir movie. The only one that comes close to me is I've always loved The Third Man, starring Orson Welles.
That's a great movie, yeah.
But I think I like Kiss Me Deadly better than The Third Man.
Cool. I'll have to check it out for sure.
That's my recommendation since we're on a movie thing. If you don't have anything to do this Thanksgiving because you're staying home,
make it a great, interesting family film night with Ikiru, a sad Japanese movie about the man with cancer. Kiss Me Deadly. I mean,
a movie where the world sort of like encloses in on this man as he gets into more and more trouble.
And Dogtooth, a movie about a psychotic family that forces their children to believe the entire world is in their house. And lots of other weird stuff happens in that movie that I did not allude to. It's a real good family film night. Toss out that Monopoly board and whatever else families do together, and put on these 3 movies all in a row. And
or actually just put them on all 3 of your TVs, because we know you have 3 TVs. And
do a very psychotic Wizard of Oz, Pink Floyd type thing. Yeah.
All the TVs at full volume. Just watch.
Just picturing like a Norman Rockwell style American family with like a big turkey and then 3 giant flat screen TVs around them, playing all 3 of these movies at once. That would be amazing. If even one family does this, please tweet at us. Which reminds me, I have yet to ever announce that we have social media. If you like this podcast, please check us out at Eat Death Pod on Twitter, and so on.
Yes.
Also, send emails to Heat Death of the Universe podcast at gmail.com. We will take any kind of fan feedback you want to give, negative or really negative. So, speaking of negative, it's time to skedaddle. Like,
Adios.
exactly time to go.
Let's make like a headphone amp and split.
Can't beat that one. Bye.
Bless the mic like Kazantai, but not the size of a banzai. Kick it like Muay Thai, flow like sci-fi. In high def, I'm righteous and still busting that up on a bitch chest. The verbal folklore been explored and employed by none other than them foes with the gold. And them bankrolls explode in your bitch and my target when I shoot my loud. Bullseye, my eyes tight-eyed, fried off the same shit that rock stars died from. Smoke something with your man, bitch. Like Wyclef used to sell the cannabis. Manuscript, sick shit, prescription, addiction. Sniffing at a roll off the counter in my kitchen. Tripping off the shit that had Brian Wilson flipping. Experiment so much, it's a miracle I'm living. And I'ma die like a rock star. Die like a rock star. I'ma die like a rock star. Die like a rock star. I'ma die like a rock star. Die like a rock star. I'ma die like a rock star. Bitch, I wanna party like Chris Farley. Shot a Hennessy, spike the with Somali. Tell mommy I'm sorry, God bless my soul. My life is so sublime, going out like Brad North. I got that Kurt Cobain type of mind frame, feeling like Keith Moon, shrooms in my dressing room. Basquiat freestyle, feeling like Jimi Hendrix and Anna Nicole Mouse. River Phoenix 93 VIP with some drugged up porn hoes all around me like Terry Diver, Linda Wong, all in hell having orgies with our horns grow along. Cause bitch, I'm Frankie Lyman. Heath Ledger hyped up in the jacuzzi doing that Jim Belushi with Brittany Murphy. We blowing her sheet. I'ma die like a rock star.
The first voice recording was made in 1860. It was a 10-second fragment of the French folk song Au clair de la lune recorded by inventor Edward Leon Scott de Martinville. But who will make the final voice recording and when? What will it be? Who will hear it?